Hello everyone, welcome to our weekly tutorial videos on basic vehicle maintenance. My name is Mike Ramirez. We're going to be covering today how to properly change the oil in a vehicle. For instance, in this case we're going to use my old 1976 Chevy truck. We're going to cover safety first. And any work that you do in a vehicle, it is recommended you wear some safety goggles. Wear your safety glasses for protection. I have the truck on a level surface. However, I am not going to be needing to jack it up and not use a jack on any other vehicle that is a lower vehicle, you know, a sedan, two-door, whatever. You are going to use a jack. Of course, you have to jack it up, use a jack stand to keep it up in the air so you can fit underneath. In this case, I don't need a jack. I don't need to jack it up. This truck is pretty high, so I'm going to just creep up underneath and change the oil. So we're going to cover this right now. These are the tools that you will be needing. This is your oil. This is brand new oil that I will be using for this truck. Oil filter wrench. There are different sizes for smaller vehicles. Your filter will be smaller, so you use a smaller wrench. For this vehicle, the filter is pretty big, so you will be using your large wrench for your filter. See, this is the large wrench. The small one doesn't fit. So we're going to put the small one out of the way. Just want to show it to you. That will be for a smaller car. This is your wrench that you're going to use to take off the plug of the oil pan and drain the oil. This is your funnel that you're going to use to pour the new oil back into the engine. And your oil pan, of course, to collect the used oil out of your vehicle. It'll be drained out into this pan, and I will show you what to do with the oil at the end of the session. So let's walk over here. And we're going to remove the oil filler cap to relieve air pressure. The filler cap is where you actually fill in your oil, where you pour your oil back into your engine. So we're going to take off this cap to relieve oil pressure, to relieve air pressure, So we just place it up here. Now you can see the hole there in the valve cover. That's where the oil goes in, right here. That's where you have to pour the new oil back into the engine. So you take off the cap to relieve pressure. Now we go underneath the car. Videographer will have to go on this side. I will go into the other side. I will place the new filter out of my way, the funnel as well. I do not need it right now. I will place my pan right here where the oil will be drained. Always make sure that you drain your oil. If you're changing your motor oil, you drain the oil from the motor. You do not drain your transmission. This is a different pan. This is your transmission. This is a basic 350 engine. This is where your motor oil is at in this pan. If you follow the engine, if you look at the engine from the top, follow it all the way down, and you'll find the oil pan below here with a plug. Normally, a transmission will not have a plug, so you do not drain the transmission fluid. In this case, you can see here, this pan here does not have a plug. That way you do not drain the transmission. Some people get clever. They put a hole in the pan when it's empty and they put a plug on it so they can drain it when they're going to change the transmission fluid. Well, that's when they're going to own the car forever and they know that that plug is there. But in a regular car, you will not have a plug to drain your transmission for the same reason. They don't want you to drain the transmission fluid thinking you're taking the motor oil out. So we're gonna take the motor oil out. Like I said, follow the engine. If you're not sure which one is the engine, which one is the transmission, you follow the engine from the top. In this particular case, the engine runs parallel with the truck, with the car, meaning it's pretty vertical, parallel. On smaller Japanese cars, you will find that the engine is sideways, horizontal ways. So the belts, the front of the engine will be on the passenger side, and the transmission will be on the driver's side, meaning you turn the whole engine around. On Japanese cars, on newer cars, you will find that a lot, that the engine and transmission sit sideways. In this case, this is an old school, it's a classic truck. It sits parallel with the truck. Transmission sits in the back here. The motor, the engine sits in the front. Okay, so we're gonna start with draining the oil. We have our pan in place. We're gonna loosen this up. That's pretty loose. Now we're gonna carefully try to aim it. We're gonna hold the pan here because the oil's just gonna gush out right now. And then we're gonna lower it so we can get it on the floor. There it goes. There's your burnt, used oil from your motor. Pretty dark, as you can see. It's pretty dark. That means it's pretty burned. It's pretty old. Got 5,000 miles in this oil, meaning every 5,000 miles in your vehicle, you're supposed to change your engine oil. I haven't changed this oil in about 5,000 miles, so that's why it's pretty dark. It's used. You will see how clear and clean the new oil is right now when I open the jug. So we clean the plug a little bit. And just let the oil drain. In this truck, if you noticed, the oil pan plug is right here where I took it off, and your oil filter is right next to it. So you can actually start loosening up your oil filter without having to put the plug back in. See, the oil's still draining. You can actually start draining your filter because the filter will also have oil inside. See this big filter? It has oil inside. That's what cleans your oil, so your engine can have clean oil at all times. In this particular case, like I said, we're lucky to have the oil filter right here next to the plug of the pan. Because in some engines, some cars, some vehicle models, you will see that the oil filter is on the other side. So what you got to do there is wait for this to finish draining, unless you have two pans. If you have an additional pan, you put it here on this side so you can start taking off your oil filter. If you only have one pan, then you're gonna have to wait until this drains completely, stops dripping, put the plug back in, and then move your pan this way to take off the oil filter. But in this case, once again, we have the filter right here next to the oil plug. So we're gonna use this wrench. We're gonna put it around this oil filter and we're gonna loosen it up. Counterclockwise loosens it up. You see that? I'll do one more time before I can get a finger loose. Perhaps one more time. And now it's loose. Okay, now we take off the wrench. Make sure you always have a shop towel, paper towel, or something to wipe your hands. You will get dirty. It is a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it, right? This case is you. So we start loosening up the oil filter. You will start seeing some drips. So let it drip. Just loosen it up a little bit. If you start seeing oil drip, here we go. See that? Just let it drip. Let the excess oil come out before you completely take it off. So as you can see, there's oil dripping from the oil filter and there's still oil dripping from the pan. So that means there's still some oil left in here to be drained out. You want to drain out as much as possible, that way you don't leave any used burnt oil inside your engine, and you will mix it with your new one. Of course, not all of it will come out, and eventually you will have some residue down here inside the pan, but as long as you take as much as possible. So it looks like the filter's slowing down and dripping. So we're just gonna go ahead and try to remove it. Perhaps more oil will come out. No more oil. See this? You will get dirty. It's a dirty job. Somebody's gonna do it. So we're gonna remove the oil filter. Remember, it's full of oil. Try not to drop it. I know that your hands are slippery right now. Mine are. They're full of oil. So try not to drop it. Then you have an oil bath. So try to hold it in place. Try to keep it straight, because you're just going to flip it over and dump the rest of the oil in your pan. Like this. You keep it straight. You see this? There's all the old used oil inside the filter. Okay, now we can see that most of the oil is coming out of the filter. The oil from the pan is slowly dripping now. It has slowed down quite a bit, but there's still some oil coming out, so you want to let it come out. Drain it all out as much as you can. Now we're going to wipe this filter so we can put it back in the box and recycle it. We're going to wipe it, and I'm going to tell you what you're going to do with it when you're done. So there's the filter, use filter. I'm going to place it here for now and finish wiping my hands. Okay. I'm letting it drip still. Oil still coming out of the oil pan. So I'm going to clean this guy a little more while waiting for that. I'm going to see if there's any... Oh, look at that. More oil came out. Okay. And stand it up again. And collect more oil at the bottom of it so I can get more out. Let's see if we can get more out. A little more. Not all of it will come out, but try to get as much as possible. Looks like it's almost empty. Let's try one more time. All right. So it's slowing down a lot more now. We're almost ready to put this plug back in, tie it up, and move on to the upper side of the engine so we can put the new oil in. Okay, we're gonna let that drip a little more. In the meantime, we're gonna wipe some of this oil dripping from the oil filter area. Okay. That's ready to go. So we're gonna go ahead and install the oil filter. And this is the new guy here. It's threaded. Goes right in here. All right, place it right in the center. And start screwing it in clockwise. There we go. Tie it up as much as you can with your hand. And then use your wrench. Now don't over tie it because it'll tie by itself. Once the engine is running and it gets hot, it'll tie on its own. So right now we're just gonna do a little bit of torque, not too much. Just gonna put the wrench around it. 1, 2, that's enough. Doesn't have to be very super tight. You may break the gasket in between and start leaking. You don't want that. So that's not going nowhere. It's pretty tight. All right, this is still dripping here. Okay, I think I'm gonna go ahead and plug it up already. We don't wanna wait too long here. So I'm just gonna wipe it real quick and put the plug back in. Okay, clockwise, we tie it up. And you're gonna use your wrench to tie it. You don't wanna over tie it, you don't wanna leave it loose because you don't wanna start leaking oil. So I don't have a torque wrench with me right now. I can show you how to torque it in a little bit. But right now you're just gonna go ahead and tie it. Make sure it's still pretty tight. I believe it's 40 foot-pounds as your torque. But right now we're just gonna tie it like this. See that? That's pretty tight. It has a washer here in between that is not gonna let it leak, okay? But I will look that up for you, and I believe it's 40 foot-pounds or less. I would go with 30. You don't want to over tight this. Okay, wipe it, and we're ready to go. We'll slide this oil pan out of here so we can get it out. Be careful, it's full of oil. We'll move that filter this way. Okay, we'll move our tools out of the way. And we'll get out of here. Okay, so here's the old oil filter. Place it in the box where the new one came in. And now we're gonna be ready to put the new oil back in. Now, there are different types of oil, different brands, different weights. For this engine here, it's a 1976 engine here. The truck is a 1976. So it's a 40-some-year-old vehicle. The vehicle has over 200,000 miles. So you need some heavy oil to get this beast going. To make this beast run good, efficiently, you need heavy oil. Unlike newer, smaller cars, talking about 530 weight oil, you'll see it on the cap of every vehicle. Every engine has a cap, oil cap, like the one I removed, where I'm gonna fill in right now. That cap in newer cars, it'll tell you the weight of the oil that you have to put in there. 530, 1030. In this case, originally was probably 530 because my newer truck, that's what it shows on the cap. However, tear and wear, your pistons, your rings, your walls inside the engine get worn out. So if I put a 530 weight oil in this truck, guess what? It's not gonna perform that well because the oil is gonna be very thin, almost like water. And this engine is tired. It's a pretty strong engine. It's a V8 350. So you need, thicker oil, stronger oil to get this piece going and get it perform well. So in this case, I'm going to use 2050. It's one of the heaviest oil, 20 to 50, meaning when it's cold, when the car is cold, you'll be at a 20 weight. Once it gets hot, like the weather is getting hotter, so you're going to be needing more weight in your oil. So it tells you here that it ranges from 20 to 50 weight oil. So this engine needs that thick oil to get it running good. On a newer car, smaller vehicle, even if you have 80 to 100,000 miles on your car, you might want to go with the 1030 oil. Not 530 anymore, because even though it's a small car, it's a small engine, but now you got some miles on it. So you don't want to keep adding 530 like if it was a brand new car. You want to move up to 1030 weight oil. So in this case, we're going to use the 2050 oil. Okay. We're going to open it up. And we're going to come around and pour the new oil in there. Let me see if I have a flashlight. Okay. There's your funnel there. Okay. Now I'm going to pour this oil in here. Okay. There we go. All 5 quarts of oil. This jug holds 5 quarts. This is a big engine. If you drive a small car, small vehicle, 4-cylinder, it's only 4 quarts. So if you buy a jug like this, then you'll have a quart left. But in this case, I'm going to pour the whole thing, because I know it takes 5 quarts for this big engine to run. And there it is. All 5 quarts. Okay, now we place it here.
some of this oil that I spilled. Okay. Take the funnel out. Put your plug back in, your cap, your oil cap goes back in here. Secure it, tie it all the way. And this is done, my friends. Okay. You have brand new oil in the engine. Brand new oil filter. Now we come back over here. Now what do we do with the old oil? And the old oil filter was pulled out of the car. Should we dump it in the drain? Should we throw it in the trash? That's a no-no. You don't want to throw used oil in the trash can because you don't want to damage our environment. You don't want to hurt our environment. You don't want that oil to end up in the trash, in the soil, in the ocean. You don't want to kill the fish in the ocean. So you want to recycle. So you want to recycle this oil. You don't want to throw it in the ocean. You don't want to dump it in your sink. You don't want to dump it in a drain because it's going to end up in the ocean and kill fish. You don't want to do that. So you're going to pour it back in the jug that came in. You're going to pour that using the funnel. You're going to put it back into the jug, and you're going to take it to your auto parts. Any auto parts will take it. That's how you recycle it. Fill it back up. Take it to your auto parts. Say, this is used oil. They'll take it in. They'll recycle it. So next time you change the oil, you help somebody change the oil in their vehicle, don't let them dump it in the trash. Don't try to fill this up, put the cap back on, and put it in the trash. That's a no. You don't do that. You fill it back up, and then you take it to the auto parts. Okay? So how often do you have to change the oil in your vehicle? How many miles does it have to have, or how many miles do you have to drive it before you change your vehicle? Every 5,000 miles. Every 5,000 miles, you change the oil in your vehicle. Okay? Now, if you have a lot of miles in your car, let's say 80,000 and over, you want to check your oil level periodically. Meaning every 2-3 weeks, if you drive a lot, check your oil level. If you already know you have 80,000, 100,000 miles in your vehicle or more, you want to be checking your oil periodically if you drive a lot, because an older engine with a lot of miles starts burning oil. It may not leak oil. You may say, well, it doesn't leak oil, so it's not going to need oil. No, older engines start burning the oil, meaning the pistons, the rings get worn out, and it'll start burning oil. So it'll start wearing off the oil. You know what I mean? So every 2 to 3 weeks, check it. If you drive a lot, especially, check your oil level. Take the dipstick. I can show you where it's at. In this case, it's here. This is your dipstick to check your oil level. So you clean it. You clean it, you dip it back in. And you check your oil level. Right now, it's gonna show probably full because I just put new oil in it. See where it's at? It's full. It says full there. So it's full right now. Okay? When you check the oil level in your vehicle, you want to make sure that your car is level, turned off at least for 5 minutes, so you can check your oil level. Because when your car is running, when your motor, when your engine is running, the oil's all over the place. The oil is traveling in the engine. So you don't want to check the oil level as soon as you turn off your car. You have to wait until the oil runs all the way down to the pan. That's where the dipstick is. The dipstick goes all the way into the oil pan. So you don't want to check your oil as soon as you park the car. You want to wait at least 3 minutes, 5 minutes, let all the oil settle at the bottom, and that's how you check it. Always make sure that it's cool. Same thing, changing your oil. You want to make sure your engine is cool. If you've been driving it all day long, you get home, pop the hood open, let it cool down a little bit, let it air out, because you'll be burning your hands. The oil will be hot. Everything will be hot. Everything you touch will be hot. So you want to let it cool down. Okay? So, there. So now, after you completed the job, you want to make sure you clean your area. Clean your tools, clean the floor. If you spill anything, make sure you clean everything. Because nobody's going to come and clean it for you. So you create a mess, you clean up after yourself. You understand? Okay? I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to submit them. We'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.